Hi and welcome back to PDA Dad UK. In this episode, I get to tick one of my bucket list items off and I talk to Mark Tramonti of Alter Bridge, Creed and Tramonte fame and talk about his new project doing Sinatra covers. So as I say, welcome back to PDA Dad UK. Please, before we go on, head over, hit like, hit subscribe and ring the bell. You'll always know when there's new content coming up. As I said before, I get to tick a bucket list item off. One of my heroes is Mark Tremonti. I love Alter Bridge, I love Creed, and I love Tramonte as a band. And unbeknownst to me, Mark has a daughter who was born with Down syndrome. And he's done a new project recording Sinatra covers. And the money is going toward the American Down Syndrome Society. So the links will all be in the description for that if you want to head over and find out what it's all about. In the meantime, I will head over and we will do the interview with Mark. Yeah, thanks guys. And yeah, I am stoked. This has been a bit of a bucket list moment for me. I get to introduce to you Mr. Mark Tramonti. How are you, Mark?
How are you? Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome, man. It's an absolute pleasure. And of course, joining us as well is Josh. Josh, you may remember, was on a previous episode. We interviewed him about his advocacy work he does for disability. So, hey, Josh, how are you?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, good.
And the connection here is that Josh and I actually met outside of an Alter Bridge concert in Cardiff. So it was a really nice little segue into doing this interview. So, Mark, you've just done this new album, which is Mark Tremonti Sings Frank Sinatra. What inspired this?
So I've been singing Frank Sinatra for, through Christmases, through my life. And then as about 3 years ago, I just went down the rabbit hole and just absolutely got obsessed with trying to sing like Frank and studied just for fun. I didn't really have any plans for it. And then when my daughter was diagnosed with Down syndrome, I was like, you know what, there was a reason for my obsession and there was a reason for this. So the stars kind of aligned. It's like, you know what, I'm going to record a Frank Sinatra record and do it for charity and raise funds and awareness for Down syndrome.
That's fantastic. I mean, I've seen the pictures online of your daughter. She's absolutely gorgeous. When did you find out about? Oh, look at that. That's awesome. You're showing me up here. My kids are going to be, why don't you have big, huge cardboard cutouts of me in the
They're all over the room. There's another one over there if you see it.
You can see it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is, I always see you in interviews in that room and get wickedly jealous because it's just loaded with gear. It is the most awesome studio. So when did you find out about your daughter being diagnosed with Down syndrome?
I think it was maybe 4 or 5 months into our pregnancy. And they just, I think it's about the same time you can find out the sex of the baby, maybe sooner than that. It was just one of those moments where, it was scary. I never really had anybody in my life that I had close contact with Down syndrome. So I didn't know what to expect. My wife did. My wife's very close cousin has Down syndrome. And so she wasn't frightened at all. She was just happy to have this blessing and this baby. And once she was born, I'd been smiles ever since.
I mean, that's amazing. My cousin actually has a son with Down syndrome as well. And so it's kind of close to my heart on that front. And my daughter's autistic and we get that sort of thing. And it's that as you find out about these things, and like you say, you go down the rabbit hole. I spent so much time researching autism to understand it and thankfully have a lot of autistic friends, funnily enough, who I've got to get that feedback from. Were family helpful in understanding that?
Absolutely. It was helpful in keeping me mentally strong. It was something like I said, I didn't know how life was going to change. When you have a child with any kind of disability, I think you think it's going to be this lonely journey, but it's not. You have these huge support groups. If anything, you're going to meet more friends. You're going to meet more people. The Down syndrome community is huge and very supportive. And I'm proud to be partnered up with NDSS, which is the largest of the the charities. And when you meet these families, you really just want to help everybody because there is no cure for Down syndrome and there never will be, but there's so many different things that you have to take care of, between speech therapies and physical therapies and occupational therapies. My daughter just had open heart surgery a couple months ago. so there's a lot of folks with Down syndrome have heart issues. You know, she had holes in her heart, which was one of the toughest things I ever had to endure in my life. You know, preparing for that surgery mentally was the toughest thing I've ever done. But the week after her surgery, the days after her surgery were the best moments of my life because she got through it so quickly. That surgery is so common now, and it's such a you know, they say this is a simple surgery. Once you get through the chest plate, bypass the heart and all that stuff, sounds like this horrible thing.
Yeah.
But they say it's very straightforward as far as the surgery goes. So when she got through it and she had a smile on her face after the fact, that was when I told myself I have nothing I could ever complain about again. So
you get that way, don't you? And it's interesting what I hear you saying about that the communities that are out there. I liken it to Hogwarts. I've said it a few times.
yeah,
It's this sort of world that exists you're not aware of until suddenly you're exposed to it, and you realize it's massive and it's amazing and it's a beautiful thing.
absolutely. I'm proud to be a part of it.
With the Frank Sinatra project, how nervous were you when you stepped through that door? Because we saw footage of that on YouTube.
You know, this is something I'm stepping into that feels almost like the first time I stepped into the studio. That first, am I going to be good enough for this producer? Am I going to be good enough for this project?
This is it.
But like, how nervous were you on that day to obviously be part of that band?
You know, it's funny. Everybody thought I should have been so nervous for that. You know, my friends were like, you know, aren't you terrified? And my buddy who filmed me for the interviews for that, he was like, gosh, this must have been one of the most intimidating things you've ever done musically. And in my interview, I'm like, no, I'm ready for this. I'm not nervous at all, to be honest with you. I'm excited to do it. And he's like, you know, for the video, let's just say you're nervous because it's going to make people want to, you know, it's going to make the anticipation, you know, better. So I kind of played that up, the nervousness, but I wasn't nervous at all. I was excited. What's somebody going to say? You did a bad job at raising money for charity. You know,
you got that to fall back on.
You know, it's I knew it came from a good place. On top of that, I practiced more than I've practiced for anything in my life preparing for this album. I practiced. My son Pearson had got picked up by 2 different soccer teams, so he was doing sometimes 3-hour practices 4 days a week, and his practice was 45 minutes away. So the drive there and back, he had to hear me singing Sinatra. And while I was in the car during COVID, because parents weren't allowed on the soccer field, I'd be sitting there singing Sinatra in the car for 3 hours straight, practicing every nuance of what he did the best of my ability. So I had all the time in the world to practice, to go into the studio. So I was ready.
Because you nailed it. I mean, when hearing Under My Skin, I've said this before, with every Tramonti album, hearing your voice develop has been remarkable because it sort of steps up each time, and you've got better and better and more adventurous, I think, with the vocals and more comfortable with your own voice. Yeah,
you know, I think when you're a new singer, not a bedroom singer, but a singer professionally, you're kind of want to stay away from your human speaking voice. I think because you're shy with the personality of your voice, you kind of want to color it, you know?
Yeah.
But I think I've come to peace with my lower register, especially now doing the Frank Sinatra thing. And because that's naturally where my voice should be singing is the you know, that lower range.
You didn't have to go to your falsetto, which I know you do when you're writing.
yeah, exactly. But when I'm doing the rock thing, I'm always pushing, I'm always screaming, I'm always like pushing to the very top of my range, which it's hard to keep your control in your natural richness of your voice when you're singing like that. So with the Sinatra thing, I could really use my voice for what it was more comfortable doing, you know, the more comfortable range it is to sing it.
Yeah, and I think that's what shocked me is that hearing you in Tramonti and Out the Bridge, and then hearing you sing Frank Sinatra, I was just mind blown. And I think that seeing all the articles and the media behind it, they were shocked too, and it was just incredible.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a dream come true to be able to do the project, and I couldn't be happier.
it must have been awesome actually going in and knowing it's Sinatra's band as well. You had that kind of, that's almost like a kudos, isn't it?
Absolute dream come true. You know, when I first started talking to my manager about this, I'm like, you know, I want to just I want to organize some local musicians. How can I find trumpet, trombone players? How can I find these people around town? He's like, well, you know, my guitar teacher growing up was Dan McIntyre, who toured with Frank Sinatra. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So, he's like, let's do the best band we could for this project and get Frank Sinatra's touring guys. And
magic.
And to me, that was just mind blowing. Like, I can't believe I get to play with these guys. It was definitely an absolute dream come true for me.
So is that like, you compare it to meeting Eddie Van Halen, obviously with Wolfgang and stuff. And I know that you were like, you were scared to sort of rate his guitaring because you didn't.
Yeah, but it's almost out of a completely different world to me. It was like, you know, I always thought, I'm like, I could go through life saying, you know, guess what? I got to play with Black Sabbath and Metallica and all these bands that I grew up loving. And but it's so different to say I played with Frank Sinatra's people, because it's just a different era. Frank Sinatra was the first big pop star, the first big singing star. You know, Bing Crosby and Al Jolson before him were big stars, but Frank Sinatra was, I think, the first person who really had people lined up from blocks and blocks to get into the shows, and people didn't want to leave their seats, so they would just, you know, they would say at the Paramount Theater, women would just piss themselves because they didn't want to leave their seat, so they would just sit in their seat and watch multiple shows. And people, you know, he was the first person that really got people crazy about him. You know, Elvis and the Beatles and everybody else did afterwards, but Sinatra was the first.
And he wore it. He knew how to handle it too. He was every bit the rock star, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He was the first. I mean, like I said, Bing Crosby was massive. You know, White Christmas was the biggest single of all time and everything. But I think Frank Sinatra was the first that really made people just go nuts about him. People would cry and scream, and, you know, that's
throwing underwear and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think what I really love as well is it shows another side. It shows another color to who you are as an artist as well. Because people sort of think it's like, you know, you're a rock star, you're a heavy metal guy, you're a guitarist, and that's sort of what you get pigeonholed into.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like the charity almost gave you an excuse to do something that broke away from what's traditionally known and showed another side. Because music's so personal, and no one just listens to rock and heavy metal. If you do, you've got a very limited palette. There's so much more to music, and
absolutely. Yeah. And it's, and the point you brought up about, because you're doing it for charity, you can kind of do something different. That's the purpose behind this organization I'm trying to start.
Yeah.
So Take a Chance for Charity is the organization I'm trying to start that challenges people to do something for charity that nobody would ever see coming. So it's kind of people's get out of jail free card for doing something completely experimental to see if it works for them, you know, or to have just fun. It could be funny. It could be great. You know, it could be anywhere in between.
I've got a challenge to put out there on this then.
Yeah.
Let's get Bublé doing Alter Bridge and Tremonti and do it like
Bublé doing some hard rock would be amazing. I would love to hear it.
I want Miles to do Elvis Presley. I don't want his. I just want Miles to do Elvis Presley or the Beatles. Maybe.
That'll be amazing. Miles would pull it off. Miles can pull off anything, so he'd kill it.
How does that feel for you? Because I remember I got to sit in a guitar clinic with you a few years back, and you kind of just sort of under your breath, you were talking about the fact that, you know, you can change the sort of pitch to get to where your voice is, and that's why you do the falsetto. But when you're running for the bridge, it's like, oh, well, fucking Miles can do it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. How is it coming to do something like this when you've got someone like Miles sort of in the background there that you're going to be comparing or compared to at some level?
I know he's been, you know, I'd send him tracks as we were doing it, and he's always been super complimentary, and he's just been, you know, all praise about it. So it's, you know, Miles is always from day one, you know, even when I was kind of a newly confident singer, just being confident enough to sing on a lead, he was always very supportive and complimentary, you know, and we sing so differently, it's hard to compare us. You know, he's very bel canto, very seasoned, very trained. I'm more just, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm just trying to do it, kind of a singer. And I have a much different sounding voice than he does. So it's like comparing two different genres, you know, as far as guitar players go. It's just so different that it's hard to kind of compare it, you know.
But you guys have that in the band as well with Alter Bridge, and I know it comes across with Tremonti as well, but you've got that thing where it's like no one is barred from really doing anything. You know, Miles plays guitar, and that must have been a thing for everyone coming into Tremonti's band and playing guitar, and it's like, and with Slash as well, I guess. But you've got that thing there that there's no ego. I don't know how you've managed it, being as big as you guys are, but you've really kept level-headed and grounded with it.
No, I've always felt like the more talent you present in your bandmates, the more respect the band's going to have. I remember seeing, I went to AC/DC concert, and Queensryche was opening up. And I remember there were two lead guitar players at the time doing solos in the same song. And I was like, wow, how talented is the band to have two lead guitar players? And I was a kid. I didn't realize, you know, I thought lead guitar players were like this very hard thing to be able to do, is to accomplish, to become a lead guitar player. So to have two in one band was, to me, this thing. So that always kind of stuck with me. So when I heard Miles play guitar, he was playing like jazzy stuff, and like we joke all the time about back in 1993 he won. We call him the Axeman because he won this competition called the Axeman, where he won, I think there was like over 100 contestants doing this guitar battle, and Miles won.
Wow.
So Miles is a fantastic guitar player. You know, I think me and Slash have both said Miles is the best guitar player in the band.
Yeah, you have. And he's argued that, well, no, they've got their own sound, and I don't have that. You can tell when Mark's playing. You can tell when Slash is playing. I don't. He doesn't feel he has that signature identity. But yeah, technically, I've heard you say the same thing. He's the best guitar player in the band.
He knows more about the guitar. Like if we're going to sit down with a jazz band, I'd have to tap out and say, I need to practice this for a week before I do it. He could just jump right in.
We've seen that from live at Wembley, when you did that jazz intro for Isolation. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And with the Frank Sinatra launch party now, is that a one-off thing, or would that perhaps be streamed online, or have you got like any other plans for that? Because I would love to come to Florida, but it's such a long way for me to go at the moment. But and I know a lot of people will actually like a tour.
I would absolutely love to do it. We have that schedule on the 14th planned. We're going to film the whole thing. Just because it's the first time we're doing it, we don't know what we'll do with it. We don't know if it'll turn out great or what, but we're definitely going to capture it. And then maybe sometime after our summer tours with Tramonti, we'll schedule some shows, but I would absolutely love to do it. My thing is I learned, I practiced singing Sinatra relentlessly. I went after singing it, but I'm not going to pretend to act like Frank Sinatra. I don't have his stage persona. So that's a whole nother thing. I don't know once I get up there how it's going to be to not have my guitar on, just to have a microphone and entertain a crowd during big band.
Almost naked, isn't it?
I'm a little nervous. The listening party, we're going to play everybody the whole record, and then we're going to do, 6 or 7 songs. But if I do a show that's strictly, Tramonti sings Sinatra live, it's going to have to be, most of the record that we sing. And, every song has this bridge, this musical break where there's no vocals, where there's just me kind of standing around.
Yeah, you were. That's gonna be hard because usually you're there just headbanging away and stuff, but now you just can't do that. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Dance? I don't know.
Yeah, and when I'm at a rock show, I can see, most of my banter is, let me see your hands, come on, rock, get up, all these things. At a Sinatra show, it's more like, it's definitely a much more classy, soft-spoken kind of thing, and I'm going to have to find my way through that, navigate that.
I reckon you guys are due back at the Albert Hall, and I think that would be an amazing venue for you to
that would be a dream. That would be a dream come true.
How can people get involved? You talked just briefly there about the charity and pushing people out of their comfort zones to do stuff that they wouldn't do. How can people get involved with that?
So first of all, if you go to the site, the TremontiSingSinatra.org, you can read the story behind it. You can contact my management if you want to get into the project of taking a chance for charity. And I just spoke to my manager yesterday. I'm like, we need to come up with something that we put online or have a card in person that says, here's how you can take a chance for charity. Use this link, use these hashtags, post your videos or whatever it is, anybody with a platform. So keep an eye on our site. We're going to try to come up with some concise, nice, straightforward way of doing that. But right now I'm speaking to a bunch of people about doing this, and it can be anything. You could record a song. You can paint a painting. You can do a dance, whatever it is, to raise money for charity. But it just has to be something that the people who know what you do would not see coming as much as possible. And then we can get the links for NDSS up on the site, so you can do the straight donate now button on there, which will keep track of all the money we've raised through Take a Chance for Charity, which is we've raised a lot of money so far. I think we're somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 that we've raised so far. So it's just been great. And then the show sold out, which is another, just the ticket sales and the show raised a ton of money. So we're going to have silent auctions, things that we put up. So it's just so exciting to see the direct cause and effect when you meet the families and the folks that could use a little help. It feels very good.
That's awesome. It's something I've said about the disability community in particular. I think I've yet to meet somebody who's got involved with disability community at some level who hasn't then tried to better other people's lives as a result. There seems to be this real sense of pay it forward that's within that community.
Because you love your children. And when you see your children have any kind of issue that would hold them back, you don't want any other families to ever, imagine, my wife was just saying, she's lucky enough to be able to stay at home with our daughter and take her to physical therapy and take her to speech therapy and take her to all these things that she does. And every day she has things, because we want to make her get past these hurdles. Imagine a mother and a father who don't have the day off to do that, and they have to work all the time, and they have to pay for sitters, and you have to find special sitters who might not who understand it. And if you're not able to take your child to these therapies, they're going to suffer. They're not going to. Sometimes it takes a child with Down syndrome 3 years to say their first word. We're still trying our best to have Stella crawl. Stella is over a year old now, and we're trying to still get her to crawl. She sits up and she smiles and she's happy as can be. But the little milestones that you're used to, you really have to work hard to get them to even recognize, hi, this is dad and this is mom and this is more. Sign language is a big thing. My wife will come in if I'm feeding my daughter, and she's like, you better be using more food. You better be saying that, with the mom and dads and all the, so it's, sign language is a big thing that we have to teach her. We have sign language shows on TV all day long because the communication that the kids with Down syndrome have a tough time sometimes speaking, at a young age. So it's like I said, imagine a family who didn't have the ability to give their child that extra care. And
I see it all the time, and just the autism community and the people who are, parents to autistic kids and stuff like that. And you see it so often, it's the same thing. The milestones are often, you learn somehow you have to relearn parenting from the ground up almost, because it's a completely different ball game that you're playing. But you also start to take, I think, pleasure in things that people would miss in other times.
Yeah.
So when that first word comes, it's that much more special.
Absolutely. And just me now, I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 1-year-old. So I saw how fast my older kids grew up.
Yeah.
So I cherish every second now at this age, because she's just adorable, and you just, when I have to go on tour, this last tour was 5 weeks long, and I started in Florida, so I didn't have to leave for like the first week, and then I flew home for her birthday. But then there was 2.5 weeks where I didn't see her, and when I got home, she was like, "Who is this man?"
Stranger danger.
And then the next day we were back on track. But it's you cherish when you have a child grow up, and then you have a new baby that those many years later. You really appreciate every step of the way. And like you said, especially for a child that might develop a little slower, those milestones mean so much more.
They really do. Going back to that, and you said earlier in the interview, you were talking about the fact that you kind of had to process it, and mentally, for your mental health, there was that sort of stepping stone that you had to take there. And the music industry is a really tough place mental health wise. Anyway, we've seen that with Taylor Hawkins recently, and I don't know the full story there, but we saw it with Chester Bennington, we've seen it with Chris Cornell, we've seen it with so many people that it becomes overwhelming. How do you manage that for yourself, and especially when you're dealing with those extra things that perhaps people don't appreciate the mental health impact it can have?
Yeah. It's just trying to stay positive all the time. And, I think everybody, well, actually not everybody. I think it seems like half the people in the world are carefree, and the other half are full of anxiety. And the people that are carefree don't understand the people who have anxiety. Yeah. And the people who have anxiety have, when they say, I feel this way or that way, the people without the anxiety is like, just snap out of it. It's not that easy. My family, my mother, my brothers, all of us have had anxiety, and it's just something I've had to deal with personally. But that's why when I found out our daughter had Down syndrome, of course, being an anxious person, I started thinking all these thoughts, all these, what if she doesn't reach her full potential? What if she has all these health concerns? What ifs? But the moment she was born, all that changed. It's like I snapped out of it until she had the heart surgery and all that. Since she's had the heart surgery, when I hold her, I don't think of anything but look at my beautiful, perfect daughter.
Yeah.
So it completely changes, once you have that daughter or son that you absolutely love, you don't go through your days thinking of any negativities that come along with any kind of disabilities. It's just you're sitting there with someone you love. So it's that anxiety completely disappeared. It's just I get to spend this blessed time with my loved one.
Absolutely. And I think you're such a strong family man anyway. That's always been apparent. Like, your family means everything to you.
Absolutely.
And I think taking this step, for me, seeing it, I love it when I see people who are, from one of the celebrities, if you like, and we see it so often, it's almost a cheesy thing. But when when someone's genuine, when it's impacting their life and they're responding to something that is really personal, and that really comes across with this.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It couldn't be any more personal.
Yeah, damn right.
It's fantastic, and I just can't wait to obviously look about more into your charity and seeing people take that chance as well. But also just growing and progressing people to take that chance and to do it for disabled people to obviously live a fulfilling life, and you were doing it for your daughter, which is fantastic. And I just feel like with the new record that's coming out now, will we be getting Out the Bridge, maybe having a bit of Frank Sinatra vibe into the new
AB7 could be the swing.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, so far we just completed yesterday our 14th track with Alter Bridge in pre-production. So we get through the arrangements, we put the Alter Bridge spin on everything. Nothing sounds like Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
But I think with my vocal approach going forward, I will always keep in mind the way I handled tackling Frank Sinatra's vocal approach and going to the studio with it. I will always use that technique when it comes to singing in the future. So that will always influence the way I sing.
That's great.
But you're probably not going to hear me singing like that on a rock record. But I'll definitely have more confidence in my lower register.
I want to put it out there. I want Bublé on a Tremonti song. I think
I would love it.
Yeah.
I would love that.
That'd be perfect for the charity too. That would just be, don't see it coming. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that could be a 2.0. Yeah. Marching in Town 2.0 deluxe edition. Frank Sinatra version.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to do another project. A lot of people have said, we would love you to do a Christmas record, now. And so now that I've done the Sinatra thing, that would be another dream come true to get these guys back together to do something like that.
That'd be fantastic. Because you could bring in some Bing Crosby and stuff like that as well. Because it all.
Oh yeah, White Christmas.
Voice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be just.
That'd be amazing. I could just imagine me and Duncan just playing it now and stuff. And think about it in my head, it will actually be a really good, solid album. And I guess that with the jokes about Michael Bublé being defrosted at Christmas but the CD will always be on my shelf if you did one. So just to get you, I would actually love to see that. So
I would absolutely love to do it. And I've here's the CD for the shelf. I just got this in.
Wicked.
2 days ago. So first copies are in of the CD. That the record hasn't been creating LPs right now is very difficult with the everything else in the world. All the supply has gone down. It's really hard to get records pressed. So I think the first pressings of this record are. I don't know if they've already sold through or not, but it's probably going to take us a little while to get the next batch of them, which is kind of a shame. But we're doing our best to produce them as fast as we can.
But people can get streaming it on Spotify. They can get it on Apple Music and everywhere else as well, can't they?
I think so. Yeah, because I think it's already up on. I do Apple Music. I think it's already up on Apple Music.
I've heard it on Spotify, so I've been listening to it under my skin. Do check it out, guys. It is phenomenal and totally unexpected. And I think what's totally unexpected is that it's amazing. It is.
Thank you very much. And it reminded me of Apple Music. One of our good friends there was nice enough to take Under My Skin and put it on the front page of the New Rock thing, which, the good thing about when you do a project like this for charity, people kind of break the rules for you. They want to do something. If they see it's for a good reason, a good cause, they'll go outside the box for you. And, Apple Music did that for us. And I think, my manager was talking to the folks at Walmart about, stocking, more of the records than they usually would. And people just breaking the rules because it's for charity. And it's awesome to see people being open-minded and having a heart. And
I love that too, because there's this thing and there's a show here called The Last Leg. And one of the things that the guys on this often say is that when you see the crap going on in the world and what an awful place it is at the moment, stop and look at the wonderful good things that are happening beside it. So when you look at Ukraine at the moment, look at the people going in and helping, look at the people providing aid. When you, and you see something like this, it's those people want to be good. People want to do good things. And there's an opportunity there. They grab it. They do.
Oh yeah. Those bad things bring the best out of people sometimes, it's funny you bring up Ukraine. I've been, national, World Down Syndrome Awareness Day was March 21st. And so I wore my blue and yellow. And I didn't realize that everybody's flying blue and yellow these days because of Ukraine. It's the same as Down syndrome's colors are blue and yellow. So when I'm wearing my blue and yellow, I get to support both causes at the same time.
That's brilliant. Mark, I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. And like I say, it's a bit of a bucket list thing getting to speak to you like this, but more so, it's wonderful what you're doing and seeing that connection. As I say, it's close to my heart with my family, but also I think for any parents out there who've got kids that have extra needs in any way, it's inspiring to see there's more we can be doing. And I really want to thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, and keep up the good work as well. So I'm just looking forward to hearing out the record.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to see you guys. Yeah, and hopefully we see you in June, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Guys, we'll put links in the description to the project so that you can go through. There will be, as Mark said, there will be donation points to click on there that you can go and support the National Down Syndrome Society in the States, and go check out the song. It is unbelievably good. More than that, it's just for a great cause. So get on it. So that was it. Amazing guy. What an amazing human being. And I just want to thank you, Mark, so much for being so open and sharing your life with us and what it's meant to you. As I said in the video before, all the links will be in the description. You can go check them out. Please do go hit like, hit subscribe, and ring that bell, and you'll always know when we've got new amazing content coming up. I will see you again on the next episode, but in the meantime, please do stay safe.